All right, here's just a little brief clip of where we're at now. In the previous video, I showed wet cleaning of the porcelain pieces. So I'm going to show you what the difference is between a freshly cleaned piece and then a fully dried piece ready for the kiln. On the bottom, we have feet. On the top, we have dressmaker dummies. So the right side shows freshly wet cleaned, leather hard pieces that I've just cleaned and I've set them out to dry. On the left, we have the dry, chalky, bone dry pieces ready to be fired into the kiln. And the difference is it feels chalky and dry. This feels a little wet still, but it also feels cold. So that's the difference. I let these sit out for several days to dry before I even put them in the kiln. You just don't want any moisture at all in your pieces because there's several reasons, but the moisture could boil inside the piece and crack and explode the piece. So that is the difference. Right now, the next step, I'm going to show loading the kiln with a bunch of pieces. I'll speed it up to show you how I do that. Okay, so here are the final fired dolls. I fired them to cone 6 and they came out of the kiln. I sanded them a bit and then I washed them off and let them dry. They are now ready for China painting. China painting is a form of overglaze and it usually takes 3 or 4 days for me to do full China painting, and that's doing 2 different China paints a day. Now, when I say that, I fire each layer. So that's why it takes so long. So I paint a layer on, then I fire it in the kiln. Have to let it cool down before I can do another one. So that's why I can only do like 2 of them a day. So I'm going to show you briefly, how I start and then see if I can do like a time lapse of the different layers that I do, because we'd be here for days if you wanted me to go through the whole thing. And then we can show you a final China painted doll that will be ready to assemble and then dress. Alrighty, so what we've got here is my setup for China painting. I'm going to go use just the one doll and see if I can get through the whole series of paintings in a fast sped up way so that you can see the progress that it makes. China paint's really fascinating. In a way, it's like watercolor. It's got a very translucent, is that the word? Transparent, translucent, but it's not super thick. It's very thin, so you have to apply it in layers. Here's my China paint. It's on a palette that I try to keep organized and clean. I have a cover that goes over it. Excuse me. A cover that goes over the top of it. All my brushes, my water container. This is a really cool water container. It cleans your brushes because it has a coil inside of it. It's called a silicoil. It's fantastic. And I just use distilled water in there. My paints they're dry. It's a dry pigment that's mixed with a medium, and the medium I use is water-based. So I don't use turpentine or anything like that. It's just water. So there's no funky smells. And it works just fine. I just apply it layer by layer, like I said, 7 to 8 layers. So I'm going to zoom in and we'll start with like the layers and see where that gets us. So that is it for part 3 of assembling a miniature porcelain doll. The next step will be to assemble the doll. And I do have another video on that. So you're not going to see that part in part 4 of this series. In part 4, we're going to start with an already assembled doll, and we'll start dressing that doll. So if you are interested in how to assemble a doll like this, I have a whole video on it. I will link to it here and also in the description. So yeah, check it out. And I appreciate you watching the videos, and have a great day.